Welcome back. Well, you saw a conversation around the railway network a little earlier after the Transport Minister's budget speech. Let's talk about what's happening with the road network. Dr. Mathetha Mokonyama runs Transport Systems and Operations at the CSIR. Dr. Mokonyama, good morning, good afternoon, and thank you for your time. At the moment, I think most people in this country move around by minibus, taxis and cars. It's just how we move around. But if you consider our geography, how big South Africa is, how spread out our settlements are, would it be better, would it be cheaper, would it be greener to have more public transport and fewer vehicles on the roads?
Good afternoon, Stephen. At the moment, most South Africans do use public transport. So it is always best to make sure that we provide an efficient public transport, because transport is an input cost to a lot of things, labor mainly. So if we're able to transport more people cheaper, then we're able to essentially reduce the total cost of doing business over time.
I mean, what seems to happen really is that the private sector does it mostly through the minibus taxi industry. If government, and it would have to be government to manage a proper railway system, for example, that would be a huge change, wouldn't it? I mean, if the railway system worked in much bigger areas, much more areas than it does now, that would change people's daily lives. It would change the face of our country.
Yes. Transport is a very complex portfolio. There are no quick fixes. Many of these problems have been accumulated over many years. So if you really want to address these issues, these problems, you've got to be very consistent, very directed in what you're doing. So the loss of capacity, for example, in the railway network, passenger railway network, has been over many years, and to resolve it, it will require focus over quite an extended period of time.
It also requires, I mean, and this is one of the problems, if you have elections in a sort of 5-year cycle, politicians by their nature can be short-termists. No one wants to agree to do anything over 15 years because it doesn't get you any votes.
Yeah, well, yes, but it is possible. I think we are a country that has got capacity, engineering capacity, to be able to address these things. We're able to do these things with the 2010 FIFA World Cup over a short period of time. So we do have the capacity to do this. What's encouraging in the speech, budget speech by the minister, is that they recognize that they need to reduce wastage. For example, the money that is being spent in, law enforcement agencies all over the place, try to consolidate that so that you do more with what you have. So I think that the message really is, how can we do more with what you have? Because essentially the budget is not going to increase that much. How can we do more? How can we transport more with what we have?
We need to talk particularly around our roads at the moment, and I mean, everywhere you go now, in most cities outside perhaps of Cape Town and parts of the Western Cape, people are going to complain about potholes. There's some roads, I must say, Sanral roads don't seem to have potholes. I mean, the N3 doesn't have potholes. So how is it that some of the roads have potholes and some don't? Is the system by which we manage our roads maybe a bit too complicated?
Yes. So, every roads authority needs to have an asset management system. We have been developing guidelines over the years on how to manage these assets properly so that you minimize defects. Now, if you implement these things, you shouldn't have problems. So Sanral has got an asset management system that they use, but it's been compromised lately because of the reduced funding, net funding. But then when you go into local government, you find a lot of the municipalities don't have these systems. You don't even know what the condition of your road network is. If you knew, you would be able to schedule maintenance accordingly. But what's encouraging in the minister's speech is that they are investing resources into developing a repository, data repository, to get to understand what the status of the road network is, so that they are able to then direct, maintenance resources, accordingly.
There are other systems that are supposed to work, but just don't. So the Road Accident Fund doesn't seem to work. There's a very important court ruling that will be coming on that soon. The e-toll system doesn't work. Doctor, I don't know if you pay your e-tolls, but I don't pay mine. And I can say that on TV without having to worry about being prosecuted. The traffic license card system doesn't work. Occasionally the machine has to go on holiday to Germany to be fixed. I mean, there's just a breakdown in all of these systems. And it seems to me that they're actually very difficult systems to fix. So this leads to the question, do we try and repair the systems we have, or do we actually need to change, all of them?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Which option do you go for? I think we have assets. We have invested quite a lot in the assets that we have. The road network, for example, that we have. We need to maintain what we have. And then we also need to adopt increasingly technology to help us do more with what we have. For example, instead of having hundreds and thousands of people going out to, monitor, the network, you use technology that will give you data, fairly quickly for you to be able to deploy resources more efficiently. So we need to have a mix where we can use, technology to do things more efficiently. Let's do so in the name of doing more with what we have.
Dr. Mathetha Mokonyama, thank you very much indeed, from Transport, the Head of Transport Systems and Operations at the CSIR. So much